Lucky tip and lockdown lovers, how are you all doing in there on yet another lockdown day? Going on 7 or 8 weeks now for us here in Ibiza, but finally we're allowed at the house. We can do an hour or so a day that we can get out for some cycling, some exercise, some running, which has made a massive difference to my life and to many, many others, I know for sure. So I hope things are progressing well wherever you are in the world watching this. And today I'm very excited to bring out the second of the Lucky Tip and Lockdown Love interviews with a special guest from right here in Ibiza. Now, we have a lot in common, me and this guy, right? He's a bald man. He likes to dance. He lives in Ibiza. He has a rugby background. He's an Antipodean. And he did some time working in boiler room style kind of trading floors in London. And he works in property. I mean, he's almost me. And yeah, so I'm really excited to introduce you to the creator of and the man behind Invenio Homes, which is a really amazing property network here in Ibiza, both on rentals and sales. And they got some pretty amazing properties and some cool projects that they're on as well. And probably the best website I've seen for property since my days at Foxtons. If you didn't know that, I worked at Foxtons. And yeah, so right now I'm very excited to introduce for you today Mr. Nick Thompson from Invenio Homes. Nick, how are you today, my man?
I'm really good, mate. The sun's shining, the birds are singing, so life could be worse.
Absolutely, man. And so I know that you are somewhat like me, and you don't really press stop, even if there is a global crisis and lockdowns and everything, and you're finding ways to keep on going. So before we dump into all of this about what's really going on with the COVID-19 and what's happening in Ibiza and for you personally, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you got into Ibiza?
Oh, it's a good story, but I think everyone who ended up in Ibiza has a good story. So, so I was a rugby player for many years in Sydney, and then I had a sliding door moment. A gentleman by the name of Richard Langhorne, who was an English rugby player, met me at the office. I was working in Sydney when he was on tour. And from the ground floor to the 5th floor, we became friends in the elevator. And about 3 months later, he picked me out of nowhere really, and he dragged me to London to work in the money markets. So I worked in the money markets in London for around 5.5 years, and in that time I actually came to Ibiza on holidays. Back in the old days before internet and all that kind of stuff, I went down to the travel agent down in Monument, picked a ticket up. 3 weeks later I was in Ibiza, and fell in love with the place basically.
Amazing, great stuff. So what was your first time in Ibiza like?
Well, I came here in 1998. I was a little bit unsure of it. It wasn't even on the map it wasn't even in my radar to speak. I came here and I actually was lucky enough to be with a group of people that were quite eclectic, and they love to party and all that kind of stuff. And we went to the 10-year anniversary of Space. And I watched a gentleman by the name of John Ulysses DJing, and it changed my life. It really did. So so I just went, wow, what am I doing in England? I'm from Sydney, so the blue skies and the sun is a very important thing to me. And I was obviously missing it. So so I basically went back to the UK after that holidays with a plan to resign, and then was back in April 1999.
Amazing. So the next year you just moved over?
Yeah, so we just grabbed our stuff, and I came over with my partner at the time. We grabbed our stuff and we, found a place and, started the journey.
Amazing. Well, that's obviously why we get along so well, Nick. We rugby background, so Southern Hemisphere Antipodeans. We had the trader boiler room style background in London, or in London as well, and then fell back in love with the sunshine and good times of Ibiza, and I think we found each other on a dance. And the music, of course. And you're a good dancer, and you're a bald man like me. So
there you go,
man. Yeah. So well, thanks very much for that introduction. And tell me a bit about, how did you get into the property side then? Once you got to Ibiza, was that your first move, or?
No, I was a diving. I came over, and I was already a diver, scuba diver, and I came over. And when I came here on holidays, I actually could not find a dive centre to enjoy a dive while I was here on my first holiday. Couldn't find one, but there was about 28 on the island. But again, with lack of internet knowledge, etc., I couldn't find one. So part of my plan was to come back over and to work as a dive instructor. So when I left the money markets, I retrained in diving, and I came over and worked as a dive instructor up until 2013. Then a lovely lady by the name of Amanda Marty, who was working for a company called Lucas Fox, came up to me and said, "Nick, are you ready to take your piercing out and put a tie back on? I've got a job for you if you want it." And I knew nothing about real estate at that point, but obviously I knew about interaction with people, being in the diving game, etc. So I went in there a little bit raw, and since then things have gone from good to good. So it's been great.
What a great little journey, and from a diving instructor on the coast of Ibiza to back into the property market. Suit and no tie, though, yeah?
No tie, but I kept the piercing.
You just kept the piercing. Good on you, man. Do you know what? That actually happened for me when I was working at Foxtons. Well, I wasn't even working at Foxtons yet. I had the tongue ring, and it was a multicolored one, and I went for the interview, and I passed the interview, and then I went for the second interview, and then I went for the one-on-one with the area director, and it was all going well, and he just said, "And what about that tongue ring?" And I was just like, that's going to have to come out, isn't it? He's like, "Yeah." And so I got rid of that. But
I think, Ibiza is a little bit of a different kind of mindset.
Absolutely. I can understand that. Yeah. So good on you for keeping it, man.
You've got to keep your originality, I guess.
Absolutely, man. So, Nick, tell me, you are now running your own property business.
Yeah. So I've developed a business-to-business platform. Basically, here in Ibiza, there's a lot of it's an iconic destination. It's very popular. It's its own brand, and there's a lot of villas for rent. Okay, and so basically, I was lucky enough to have an idea where I could develop or an opportunity where I could develop a business-to-business platform where basically any agent in Ibiza or from around the world can actually access it, and then have direct accessibility to a very prominent portfolio in Ibiza of about 400 properties for rent. So basically, we work from business to business. So basically, we supply agencies with clients' property here in Ibiza.
I used your service a lot to search for villas for my clients, and I must say it's a top-notch website and system behind that really supports it. In that, it takes a while to get a property over here in Ibiza and to find a property, and to I work with so many different agents, and obviously you've got to send out an email with a request of everything that you're looking for and your specifications, and then wait for them, and obviously they're all super busy, so it takes them time to get back to you. Whereas in that time, I've already gone onto your websites, typed in what I want, checked in that, I've got 5 properties back, I've sent them off to my clients, and they're already choosing from you while I wait another day or two for everyone else to get back to me. So really tip-top, and well done to you for the idea behind it, but also the execution of it is tops.
Yeah, well, it's been another journey. There's been a lot of sleepless nights and organising the roadmap in my head on what people need. Obviously, been in the game for so long, I've had to deal with a lot of disappointments and frustrations from people, just exactly like you said then. So I put all that into action, and it's doing really, really well.
Well, good on you. Good on you, man. And I'm just really looking forward to being able to, I've done a lot of inquiries already just in the last couple of months leading up to the summer. Now, obviously, we have had a global crisis, which is affecting all of us in the same way, but also in very unique and different ways. Could you tell me how is the current COVID-19 situation affecting you personally and professionally?
Honestly, it's I think it's a reset. The business has stopped. Let's be honest. People aren't going to be tying up money on rentals now, with the future being so uncertain. Ibiza, I believe, is going to be closing its borders. Or Spain's going to be closing its borders. So unfortunately, the market sector that I'm in is actually non-existent at the moment. However, it's an amazing opportunity to fix all the little problems that we had. Starting the business, we went full throttle. We were doing really, really well. But your front office has to be as good as your back office. So, or vice versa. And now that we've got this time, we're actually building the back office to match the front office. And so when we come out of this, we're going to be bulletproof.
Amazing. Good on you, Nick. That's really, really great, man. So
there's a gift. This time that we've been given is a gift, and I think people should be using it properly.
Good on you, man. Well done for seeing the positive, and not just seeing the positive, seeing the balance in it. Because, there's I do believe there's a bit too much of this only see the positive. Even me, I'm very much, believe in the positive, but it's seeing the balance and just seeing that, yeah, we're getting a hit. Yeah, we're losing some money. Yeah, we're getting, some things are happening that are really knocking us. But how can we make that good? How can we focus on the balance of what's coming out of it? So good on you. It sounds like you're really finding that. And
yeah, no, it's just, we've all lived hand to mouth. Coming to Ibiza, it's not an easy place to shine. There's a lot of competition here, so we've all had our struggles, but we've all survived. So it's just a matter of resetting the brain and getting to survival mode, scaling back, okay, and just focusing on what's important for the future.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely, bro. And so, Nick, what about your personal life? How is the COVID-19 affecting that? You've spoken of the business side. What's it doing for your personal life? I mean, what's going on there? Like, I mean, you obviously, we're not going out dancing and partying together at the nightclubs at the moment, but also, you've got a special lady that you live with. I mean, you must be spending a lot more time together than even ever before, even though you're in business together. So how's that affecting us
I tell you, I think I've got the best cellmate you could ever have. We get on really well. We've always got on really well. We've been friends for a long time before we got together. She's the same age as me, so we're hitting 50, and so we're not looking for we don't need to be out all the time. We're very comfortable in our creature comforts. She's a great cook, which is something that I didn't really know until this. We used to eat out a lot, and it's very easy to go to a restaurant here in Ibiza. But since we've been at home, she's been the food that's been coming out is amazing. She's Italian. I've got to worry about my waistline. She does love to cook the pasta, but that's about it. But no, listen, we get on great. She's been part of the journey as well. She's part of the company, and so her feedback's been really important. We dedicate 3 or 4 hours a day to work, okay, and then we dedicate time to ourselves. So we are using the time properly, and that 3-4 hours of actually solitude is more productive for us than 9 hours in an office. So it's all working really well.
Absolutely. Well done, Nick. Well done. You really are getting, I'd say, finding ways to make the best out of it. And as you say, you're getting amazing food prepared for you. That's really wonderful. Good on you, Chris. And I look forward to tasting one when we're able to meet up for a dinner again sometime. But like you say, you got to look after the waistline. And I'm finding, I'm fasting, so I'm only eating 8 hours a day between midday and 8. Otherwise, I'd be munching all day long, man. Like I just, I've got a fast metabolism and I can just feed, and it's unnecessary feeding. And I'm not going to get fat. I'm quite lucky with that with my metabolism, but I would just eat unnecessarily. So what are you doing yourself, and you, Chris, as well, to find ways to stay fit and healthy during lockdown?
Well, we were lucky enough to have a bicycle, an exercise bike, and some dumbbells here that we kept in storage for one of my clients. He brings it over, and he bought it one year, and then he said, "Can you look after it?" And every year he comes back, I just take it to the villa for him. So I asked him very politely, I said, "Is it okay if I use your bike for a while?" He's like, "Go for it." So we've got a little gym set up in front of the swimming pool. I'll be honest with you, I don't use it as much as I should. Chris is fanatical. She does an hour and a half spinning every day. Yeah, she loves it. She's getting right back into it. But I don't have a fast metabolism, but about 2 years ago, I had a gastric bypass. So I don't actually eat that much anyway. I can imagine though, however, there's a lot of people out there who are just bored eating, so they're just standing up, walking to the fridge, opening the fridge, seeing what's in there, having a bite, walking away, coming back 20 minutes later. I can imagine that because that's exactly what I used to be like. So, so I'm quite happy that I've had this gastric bypass. That's discipline. I can't do much more than what I can do with that. And Chris is really into biking, and she's actually seeing a big change in her outlook. She's a lot more positive. That she's running on 8 cylinders really. So it's great.
It's really, really cool, man. That's epic. I'm noticing the difference as well. I'm for the first time having the stability in my life because I'm not out at meetings and film shoots and events and parties and late nights at the moment. And I don't mean partying. I mean just attending events that I'm constantly at, that I'm able to integrate a bit of structure into my life. So I'm making sure that there's, I'm not doing 3 hours of exercise, but I'm doing at least half an hour of a power little workout each day. I'm eating 2 to 3 regular, good, healthy meals, and I'm taking time to read, and I'm working probably the least I've ever worked, but it's the most powerful and effective work I've ever done in that energy that I'm in at the time that I do the work.
Yeah, well, it's amazing because we're in this lockdown or I had an analogy the other day, and it's like, if you look at a train with 3 carriages, it's like no one's pushing us and no one's pulling us. We're just that carriage in the middle waiting for someone to do something. So, you actually realize the amount of energy you lose doing stuff that you actually don't even need to do. So this is a time to reset, to actually focus on what's good for you, that's going to make you move later.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, in a big way. And so, Nick, within Invenio Homes, and as for your business and your personal sanity or creativity, how are you actually managing or hoping to stay productive and essentially lucrative during this time? Because I mean, we're in property, or I'm partly in property. You're completely in property, and what are you doing to stay productive, and also planning to do to stay lucrative in this time?
Well, in all fairness, I think there's being lucrative is not an objective for me ever. To be stable is. The stability is not there now. But I'm using this time for reaching out to a lot of friends I haven't reached out to for a while. I'm going back to a bit of a creative entrepreneurial side as well. I've started up several businesses in my life, and that was always my addiction. That was always to see if I could take a project to a reality. And we've recently been working on a project that's which I sent to you the other day, which I know you were very keen to talk about a charity event that we're doing about Ibiza giving back. Ibiza's been for years the lifestyle of the rich and famous, a VIP playground and stuff like that. And to be honest, I came here and for me, that wasn't what I fell in love with. But what's happening now is a lot of owners are realising that probably they've had the best years. In order for them to actually see future, they need to actually become realistic. In the economic crisis that we're in, not a lot of people will be able to afford to come to Ibiza at the prices that they were charging recently. So I think there's going to be a big reset in the marketplace, and we've been working on a project called Together, so that basically all people that can afford to come to Ibiza or should have the right to come to Ibiza will be able to come to Ibiza. And we'll be focusing mainly on the medical staff who have been working so hard in these difficult times.
I pretty much, my jaw dropped, and I just had to sit down and read the whole thing from top to bottom. And I really, really love the concept. And I mean, I'm really looking forward to bringing, like I said, the Eat, Sleep, Rave retreat kind of concept together with what you're working on. And it's wonderful to see generosity at that level come from Ibiza. So to all the listeners out there, to everyone that's watching, just hold tight. I will be sharing that out on our newsletter as soon as it's able to be spoken about, and as soon as it's able to go out, we're going to be sharing news on that.
It's rekindled my love for Ibiza. I think a lot of people were caught up on the conveyor belt of Ibiza, and now that there's this opportunity for them to actually realise why they came to Ibiza. Ibiza is a spiritual place. I'm not a spiritual person, but you can actually feel a lot of good in Ibiza, and a lot of the people are actually giving back now. They realise how lucky they are. We're in a very lucky place, and I think people are really starting to understand that, which is great.
We are indeed the lucky ones, man, that's for sure. But Nick, I love how you say that you're not a spiritual person yet. From that concept which you've just created, which you sent to me, that shows that you are a spiritual man. You definitely are, because you're giving back to society, you're giving to community, you're here to serve, you're not just here to earn. And that for me shows spiritual life in you, man, and that's beautiful. So keep up that sort of work, man, and keep collaborating with me, keep me in on that stuff. But you say you're not a spiritual man. You're a businessman. You come from trading background. You come from rugby. So, when did you get generous? What changed your tune?
Oh, well, it's another nice story, to be honest. I find this island very inspirational. There's a lot of people on this island. There's a lot of good people on this island. I talked about a sliding door moment earlier with Richard Langhorne with my rugby. It was talking into the finance world, but I actually had to do I had a phone call to go and do a viewing on a property that I'd never been to. My business partner at the time, he just had a baby and he couldn't go, so he asked me to do it. I mentioned I was a rugby player. Basically, when I stopped playing rugby, I didn't stop eating, so I actually ballooned to around 165 kilos. So I was a big guy, and actually I'd lost my shine, I'd lost my enthusiasm, and it was August, and I have my daughter here with me every August. And I had to convince her to come with Daddy to see this lovely house to try and, help this person find the house of their dreams for their holiday. When I got there, I had to walk up a driveway in an area called Vista Alegre that was actually about 45, or it was like that, you know. And I walked up this driveway. When I got to the top of the driveway, I was exhausted. I was sweating. I was panting. And the owner of the property looked at me and said, "Sit there," got me a glass of water, and then he did the actual viewing of the property with the clients. That night, he sent me a message saying, "Do you want to die?" And I was like, "Sorry, mate, I didn't realise that sorry they didn't take your house." You know, he goes, "I don't care about the house." He goes, "I care about you." And I'd never met him before. That was the first day I'd ever met him. Basically, he rang me the next day and he said, "Listen, I need to see you. I couldn't sleep last night. Please come back and see me. I want to talk to you about your future." So I got in my car, left my daughter with Chris, got in the car, went there. And obviously I thought I was actually heading over there to be sold Herbalife or something like that. You know, and I got there and he sat me down and he said, 20 years ago, I was the same as you. And he explained exactly what I was going through. You know, you trained, you lost weight, you put it back on. You know, your life got in the way, you stopped the routine at the gym. You know, it was easy to eat a bocadillo or a sandwich on the run than sit down and have a healthy meal. And everything he was saying was correct. He goes, the reason I know this is because I was actually in the same position as you were 20 years ago. And he said, "So I'd like to help you. And I'd like to introduce you to the doctor who did this operation. I want you to go home and I want you to study it. If you feel comfortable for it, let me know and I'll pay for it."
I offered to pay for it.
Yeah. So he basically paid for my operation. And I lost 65 kilos. And, he gave me a gift, and that gave me a reality check, that it's not all about taking, it's all about giving. We've become amazing friends. I actually paid him back. He didn't want the money. I paid him back. And he rang me up. He was very angry when he saw in his bank that there was a whole lot of money that had arrived back. And I said, basically, "Mate, you saved my life. I just want us to always be friends. I don't want to ever think that you have something higher than me or me have something higher than you. I don't want to ever be in your debt. I just want to be your friend." And we've been amazing friends ever since. He's my angel.
That's awesome, Nick. That's really awesome.
Yeah, so basically that was a reality check, and it's all about giving.
This is your way of now making sure you're always giving back, man.
That's it, buddy.
Well, good on you, Nick. That's really awesome, man.
Yeah, it's a funny one, but it's one of those sliding door moments. If I hadn't have gone to that viewing, I probably would be dead.
Yeah. Bloody amazing, man. Amazing.
Anyway.
Other than the fact that obviously landlords and owners are going to have to, come back down to ground in terms of pricing and what we're really doing in terms of Ibiza. And I think the same is going to need to happen with ticket prices and drink prices and hotel prices and everything, at least for the first year or two. I mean, we don't even know if we're going to open this year. But other than that, maybe it's a bit of a cheeky question. It's maybe not the right time to ask it, but let me ask anyway. Is it a good time for those people that are watching this call that might maybe be property investors that might be looking for an opportunity? Is now the time? Are people going to be wanting to get out, do you think? Are there, businesses that are quickly dropping prices on villas because, well, they've got to cover other areas and we can actually help them by finding some buyers that want to come across or have you seen that any of your buyers are just going, "Nah, I'm just going to hold on and not move until I know more"?
Well, the uncertainty of the last 2 months has obviously made people realise that there may be a change in the future for them. A lot of the property prices have been geared off the rental incomes that they produce. So people have been covering their positions with the incomes of the rentals. The fact that there's going to be no rentals this year, a lot of people are going to be exposed. Unfortunately, people have probably overgeared themselves. There will be, in any crisis, there will be a reduction. People will need to get rid of their positions that they can't maintain. Okay. Is it a good opportunity to buy now? Probably no. To be honest, I think it will drop. I think it'll probably take about a year for it to kick in. The reason being is a lot of people have actually pushed their rental incomes over to 2021. Okay. So they'll actually see if they can actually, weather the storm in the next year, and if at the end of 2021 they aren't able to, that's when I think is the time to buy.
And what do you mean by they've pushed their rental incomes to 2021?
So instead of cancelling, a lot of people have said, "Listen, I can offer you my house for you've already paid. You've already paid for your rental. Obviously, you can't travel this year. So what we'd like to do is we'd like to invite you back to 2021." That's been quite receptive, purely because a lot of big companies, hotels, airlines, and stuff like that, they actually implemented that first. Okay, so that seems to be the norm. People have adjusted to that, and so the villa owners have actually done the same thing, which is fair. There's a lot of people, however, going to have a lot of money tied up for another year that they could probably be using now. But I think it's a happy medium. We've implemented a thing that going forward, all rentals actually get paid into an escrow account, so that when the time is right, we can either shift it to the owner or back to the client. So there's not that the reduction in cash flow for these renters. Okay, some owners are very receptive to it, which has been great. But also other owners are saying, no, listen, this is something completely unprecedented. We're all in the same boat together. Let's suffer together. And but my gift of my house to you is still available in 2021. So it's been mixed reactions. But at the end of the day, obviously everyone's pivoting and everyone's actually trying to do the right thing. I don't think I've had any negative feedback from owners. They all understand, which is great. And that's what's inspired us to do this together thing. The fact that they understand that it's a global thing, there's no time to be selfish anymore.
Nick, that's probably the biggest thing that I've noticed in a shift in communication with everyone on both sides. There's people that I owe money to, but there's also people that owe money to me. And it's the first time where we're no longer pretending like we're all loaded. And we're no longer, there's no illusions anymore. Everyone's going through something. So therefore, there's this compassion in every direction. And if there isn't the compassion, then there's some people that still need to be waking up to what's really going on. And it really does change it when it's a global issue that's going on, and so I'm happy to hear that that's what's been happening. And I'm really lucky that the Eat Sleep Brave retreat, I'd just done my first newsletter on Friday the 13th 1 month ago, announcing, I hadn't put dates out, I hadn't said we're on sale, but I just included in my first newsletter to quite a few people in the travel and dance scene around the world. And then the next day they said, you're right, lockdown. And I was like, well, that's kind of throws it. But at least, I hadn't sold any tickets. I hadn't, none of the places were actually taken yet. So that alleviates that. But it must be a really confusing and difficult situation to then go, right, you've got all these people that have booked, and now you've just got to move everything to next year. But I do think that's a fair and a happy medium, rather than cancelling, everyone losing money, everyone losing bookings, and then, just moving it to next year and having to replan things again. So
I mean, it's just, everyone's got to work together. This is not us living in Ibiza looking at a problem in another country, or in Australia when we had the bushfires. We all felt helpless. There was nothing we could do. But the reality is, it's affecting everybody, from the richest to the poorest. But I think, it's actually opening everyone's eyes. And I think there's going to be a big reset in the brain. I've used reset a few times. It's going to be a big reset. There's going to be a lot of adjustments for people. But I think the people that have got humility and the people that have got compassion will actually survive, because it's just not going to affect their head as much, because they're going to realize it's not all about them. And that, what would I expect? It goes back to the Bible, do unto others what others do unto you, and that's where we are.
Yeah, it's definitely brought it back to that, without a doubt, man. It's in a big way. Like I say, when you're looking at negotiations of where I've got to pay some people money, but also people got to pay me some money, it's made me much more understanding and gentle and, compassionate to people that are owing me money, and just saying, well, understand what you're going through, because then I hope they understand what I'm going through. And if I don't understand what they're going through, how can I expect them to understand what I'm going through? You know what I mean? And
I mean, listen, we've got a nice house here in Sagamasa, and I've got some friends who literally can't pay their rent now, and we're, our rooms are full. Once this lockdown's finished, I'm going to have my tribe of friends that have always looked after me. I'm going to sit down and go, right, guys, time for me to put a roof over your head. So they're all going to, as soon as we get the lockdown finished, there'll be a trail of lovely people heading to my house.
Amazing, man. Well, I look forward to hearing about the community parties that are happening in your place then, once that's open and going. Nick, what would you say, as a little bit, let's take it on a little down dip. It doesn't necessarily need to be a down dip, but just a bit of a reality thing. So, what would you say you are most missing about life before lockdown?
Most missing about life before lockdown. Okay, well, I've got three dogs. Well, we've got three dogs, and that was probably my meditation time, was walking the dogs. So having them is great company. Unfortunately, they're not understanding what's going on. They're used to having an hour and a half walk a day minimum. They're all three abandoned dogs, that we've brought into our houses and into our house and given shelter to, but they've actually just taught us so much, and they give us love every day, and they're very good. I mean, one is very young, very energetic. One's a Podenco, which is like a Spanish greyhound, or you'd be thinking greyhound. So she's got a lot of energy, but they're sitting there, they're looking at the door going, when are we going out again? So, it's been nearly, I don't know how long it's been now, nearly a month, like you said. Yeah, a month. So they're just like, what's going on? What have we done wrong to deserve or not to deserve our walk? But the upside is we're spending 24 hours a day with them, and they just feeling the love and they're giving the love. But that's one thing I miss the most, going out there. And to be honest, I probably wasn't appreciating the walks as much then as I will in the future. I mean, I was very walk the dog, had my phone in my hand, looking at the phone, and I actually missed looking at the ocean. Being a dive instructor, being from Sydney, the ocean's huge for me. It's a calling, and but I used to just abuse the fact that I was living next to the ocean. I was looking at my phone. So I think that'll be my thing again. The next time I go for a walk with my dogs, there'll be no phone. I'll be breathing fresh air. I'll be looking at the blue waters. I just hope the day that they stop the lockdown, it's not raining.
You'll still go walking in the rain, though, won't you?
Absolutely.
You'll have a little dance in the rain. I know you will.
Yeah, you're probably right, actually.
Absolutely good. I hope I get a little video of that happening. But let's hope that it's not raining that day. You're right, and I definitely I've got an amazing view where I am here, and I noticed I've definitely taken it for granted. And 2 weeks into lockdown, I just knocked on the landlord's door, and I was like, "Look, man, there's a piece of land in front of me. I need to please let me have access to that." So they've given me access to that. And I've got a tiny little 1 meter, about 2 meters, but I mean, I feel like I'm in paradise now with my own garden, and just those small things are having such bigger meaning in your life now.
Yes, small victories, and just appreciating things. I went to the shop the other day. Chris, bless her, she came back and she's like, "Oh, I forgot to get milk or something, whatever it was." Bless her. And I'm like, "I'll go." Whereas I'll go get it. Whereas, like, a month ago, I would be like, "Oh, well, we're not going to have milk," but I was excited about going to get milk.
Yeah. I can understand
and she passed me the car keys. And I said, "I'm not going on the car. I'm going on the scooter." Just so that I can have wind in my face.
Yeah.
So those small things. Yeah, exactly. Those small things, they actually mean a lot to you, and you just take them for granted. And that's what I think we're going to stop doing: taking small things for granted.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. And I agree with you 100% on that, Nick. Right, I want to know from you, man. In the industry of the property and Ibiza real estate business, or just worldwide real estate, really, any tips or techniques that you can recommend to other people that are going through this as well? I've got a lot of friends that are real estate agents in London and South Africa and Australia actually as well. And, just looking at how can we start to do things different? And even moving forward, maybe, what do we do? Any ideas?
Yeah, well, listen, I think, unfortunately, I think the competition there's going to be a lot of people who will leave this sector, okay? It's a commission-based sector. Yeah. If there's no movement of money, a lot of people are going to be looking for something that will give them security, okay? I think the best thing to do if you are committed to this industry is just to make sure that your business is tip-top, that you've got all those little small things that have been niggling you about your business. Just fix them. Just use this time to fix them. Get your contracts in place, work on your website, contact your owners, contact your clients. Don't ring them up as if you're trying to sell them something. Ring them up and show them concern and ask them how they actually are, okay? And that'll just breed relationships for you in the future. And they'll remember that. People like to be remembered. People like to be appreciated. People don't like to feel that the only reason they get called is because you want something from them. Give them something back and it'll actually pay you back a lot more in the future.
Well done, Nick. Well done, mate. Wise man you are.
Well, I'm nearly 50.
You shocked me there, mate. You're doing good. You're looking good. And look, it's you're on a bit of a Lucky Life TV here, so I do believe in my own form of luck. So, lucky question number 7. What would you say is probably the biggest positive that you can see coming out of this? Now, before you answer your question, this can be for you personally, for your business or your industry, for Ibiza or globally? Just what's the one thing that you see as being the biggest positive coming out of all of this?
Humans will start to become humans.
Yeah, man. Yeah, big up that, man.
Yeah, I see it. I see, again, you can be the richest man in the world or the poorest. It's affecting everyone. So everyone needs to start understanding that it's not all about them. It's about what they can do for others.
Good on you, Nick. I love that, man. It's really, really tops, man. Well, before we wrap it up, anything else that you'd like to share with the lucky ones out there watching and listening today?
No, listen, really appreciate the opportunity to have a chat. I think what you're doing is also very positive. You're bringing a spin onto things, bringing some light in the darkness, and but they say, and this is going to sound corny, but the stars only shine in the darkness, mate. So keep up the good work.
Thank you very much, Nick. I really, really appreciate that, man. And have yourself a wonderful afternoon. Lucky listeners, lucky viewers, thank you very much for joining us, lucky ones. And this is Nick Thompson from Invenio Homes. I keep on I've been calling it wrong for ages. Nick Thompson from Invenio Homes, a wonderful company out here in Ibiza. And I look forward to working with you and dancing with you very soon, mate.
Nicky, you need to have studied Latin at school to get it, mate. Invenio, which basically means search or find. Okay, and I think we're all finding the truth.
So that makes perfect sense. You know what? Before we go, hold on, wait. Actually, there's something that I do want to share. So one was that, actually, and then I totally forgot that was an amazing thing, and I didn't know that about the name of it, and I probably would have had the pronunciation perfect, but I've been doing it only with my fingers on typing up until now. You've got a lovely lady named Chris there,
yes,
who is getting extremely fit on her exercise bike and cooking you some wonderful meals and being a great business partner. Where did she come along? How did she fit into this whole thing? You find her on the island?
Yeah. I was. So my spiritual place on the island is a place called Cala Llonga. Okay, that's where I had my first business, my first dive center. That's where I met my first wife. That's where when my daughter was born in Cala Llonga. So Cala Llonga has always been a very spiritual, or very important part of the island for me. I had an office there in Cala Llonga as well. And I'd just come back from Australia. My mum was ill. I went back to Australia, and I got back to Australia. The first thing I wanted to do was go back to the office, see the staff, see the team. And then I went. It was January, and there's not a lot open in Cala Llonga in January, as you can imagine. And there was one bar open called the Baron, which is a Dutch bar. And I said I need a coffee, which I don't drink anymore, funny enough. But I said I need a coffee. I went down there, had a coffee, and there was this beautiful lady with her back turned to me, with a lovely sleeve of tattoos. In front of the coffee machine, and I said to the guy I was with, I was like, "Who's that?" And he's like, "I don't know, I've never seen her before in my life." And I went, "I'm going to marry her," and I hadn't even seen her face. All I'd seen is a sleeve of tattoos, and she turned around and she introduced herself to me, and that was it.
Amazing, man.
Yeah.
There's some real golden stories like this in Ibiza, but that's got to be one of the best I've heard, man. She's a lovely lady. Do send my regards, and it's great to know that you've got her as a partner, like a team with you out there, man. Not only in the business, but also in the home, or not only in the home, but also in the business.
Yeah, but honestly, I think people that are actually sitting at home alone now, feeling a little bit isolated and stuff like that. I mean, we're very lucky. If this was happening 20 years ago, it'd be a very lonely place. But with the technology we've got in the world right now, Skype, call, whatever you want to do, use this time to reach out to people that you think you've forgotten about. They're still there. Reach out and say hi. They'll appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, Nick, thanks for letting me reach out to you, and thanks for reaching back. And I look forward to catching you on the dance floor very soon and renting some more of your properties.
Lovely. Thank you very much.
Take care, man. Have a great afternoon. Cheers, brother. Bye.
Take care, man.